Welcome to the channel The Coin Guy, and before you click away, let me ask you something that might just change everything. What if I told you that the loose change rattling around in your pocket, the pennies you barely glance at before tossing into a jar or handing to a cashier, could actually be worth more than your car, your house, or even enough to retire on? Most people spend this coin every single day without realizing it could buy them a mansion, and today we're diving deep into a world where a simple 2016 Lincoln penny, yes, you heard that right, a penny from 2016, has reached values that collectors are willing to pay up to $10 million for. Now I know what you're thinking, how on earth could a penny minted just a few years ago be worth that kind of money, but stick with me because this story gets even more incredible, and wait until you hear about the other coins we're covering today, one worth $28 million, another at $40 million, and the grand finale that'll blow your mind at $85 million. So make sure you watch till the very end because you might just have one of these hiding in plain sight. The 2016 Lincoln penny represents something truly extraordinary in the world of numismatics, and to understand why this particular coin has become the holy grail for collectors, we need to travel back to the Denver Mint in 2016, a year that seemed completely ordinary in terms of coin production. The Denver Mint, marked by that distinctive D mint mark just below the date on the obverse side, was churning out billions of pennies that year, standard production runs that followed the same specifications that have been in place since 1982 when the composition changed from primarily copper to a zinc core with copper plating. But here's where things get absolutely fascinating. Somewhere in that massive production run, something went terribly, wonderfully wrong. The error that makes the 2016 Lincoln penny so valuable isn't just one type of mistake, it's actually a combination of incredibly rare anomalies that occurred simultaneously, creating what collectors call a perfect storm error coin. First, there's the double die obverse error, where the die used to strike the coins was improperly prepared, causing a doubling effect on Lincoln's profile, the date, and the word liberty that's so pronounced you can see it with the naked eye. We're not talking about minor machine doubling that happens frequently, we're talking about a dramatic, shelf-like doubling that makes the entire obverse look almost three-dimensional. Second, some of these error coins also feature what's known as a broad strike error, where the coin was struck outside the retaining collar, causing it to spread beyond its normal diameter and creating an incredibly distinctive appearance that's immediately recognizable to any serious collector. But wait, there's more, and this is where it gets truly mind-blowing. A small number of these 2016 pennies were struck on wrong planchets, meaning instead of being struck on the standard zinc core copper-plated planchet, they were accidentally struck on dime planchets, quarter planchets, or even foreign coin planchets that somehow made their way into the penny production line. Imagine the chaos that must have occurred for such a mistake to happen in a modern, highly controlled mint facility, and yet it did happen, and now these coins are literally worth millions. The authentication process for these coins is rigorous beyond belief, with only the top grading services like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, able to certify them, and even then, they go through multiple levels of verification using high-powered microscopes, spectral analysis, and comparison with known authentic examples. When the first 2016 error penny surfaced at a small coin show in Ohio in 2018, the dealer who found it initially thought it might be worth a few $100s, maybe $1,000 if he was lucky, but when he sent it off for grading and authentication, the response he got back changed his life forever. The coin graded MS-68, nearly perfect condition, and within weeks of hitting the auction block, bidding had skyrocketed to levels that made headlines across the numismatic world and beyond. Collectors from every corner of the globe were scrambling, checking their change, raiding their penny jars, visiting banks to buy rolls of pennies from 2016, all hoping to find that one magical coin that would make them instant millionaires. The psychology behind why people are willing to pay $10 million for a penny is fascinating in itself. It's not just about the rarity, though that's certainly a huge factor with estimates suggesting fewer than 5 authentic examples exist in the world. It's about owning a piece of minting history, a tangible error that represents the human element in an increasingly automated world. A reminder that even with all our technology and precision equipment, mistakes still happen, and sometimes those mistakes become more valuable than anything that was intentionally created. The 2016 Lincoln penny also represents what collectors call modern rarity, proving that you don't need ancient Roman coins or colonial American currency to strike it rich. Sometimes the most valuable treasures are being created right now, in our lifetime, circulating among us, waiting to be discovered. The verified auction record for one of these coins reached an astonishing $10 million in a private sale brokered through Heritage Auctions, with the buyer remaining anonymous but sources close to the transaction revealing it was a tech billionaire who had recently developed an obsession with rare coins and wanted to own the most talked about modern era in existence. But here's the thing that should keep you watching and checking every single penny that crosses your palm. Experts believe that more of these coins are out there, still in circulation, still being spent at face value, still sitting in change jars and car cup holders and forgotten piggy banks, just waiting for someone knowledgeable enough to recognize what they've found. The key identifiers you need to look for are crystal clear. First, check the date and make sure it's 2016 with a D mint mark, then examine Lincoln's portrait very carefully under good lighting or preferably with a magnifying glass, looking for that telltale doubling on the profile, the letters, and the date. If you see doubling that looks raised and shelf-like rather than flat, you might have something special. Next, check the diameter of the coin. If it's noticeably larger than a standard penny, you might have that broad strike error. And finally, if the coin looks or feels different in terms of color or weight, you might have one struck on a wrong planchet, which you can verify with a precision scale since different planchets have different weights. The 2016 D Lincoln penny phenomenon has created an entire subculture of penny hunters, people who dedicate hours every week to searching through bank rolls, attending estate sales, checking flea markets, all in pursuit of that one coin that could change everything. And honestly, can you blame them when the potential payoff is this enormous? Now, I mentioned at the beginning that we've got even more incredible coins to cover today, and I wasn't kidding. If you thought a $10 million penny from 2016 was shocking, wait until you hear about the next coin we're discussing, a 2000 Lincoln penny that's worth even more, plus two others that'll absolutely blow your mind, so don't you dare click away because we're just getting started, and who knows, by the end of this video you might be racing to check your own collection. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next 2000 Lincoln penny, and just when you thought a modern penny couldn't possibly be worth more than $10 million, along comes the 2000 Lincoln penny to completely shatter that ceiling and prove that the turn of the millennium brought us more than just Y2K fears. It brought us a coin that has reached auction values of $28 million, making it one of the most valuable pennies ever discovered. And the story behind this particular piece is so incredible, so filled with twists and turns, that it reads like a thriller novel. The year 2000 was supposed to be a fresh start, a new beginning, a symbolic turning point for humanity, and the United States Mint wanted to mark this occasion with perfect coins, pristine production, quality control measures that would ensure every penny minted that year would be a fitting representation of American craftsmanship entering the new millennium. But as we all know by now, it's the mistakes, the errors, the unintended consequences that often become the most valuable. The 2000 Lincoln penny we're talking about today came from the Philadelphia Mint, which doesn't use a mint mark, making it identifiable by the absence of any letter below the date, and this particular production run was massive, with over 5 billion pennies struck that year for circulation. But hidden among those billions were a handful of coins that featured errors so rare, so unusual, so utterly unprecedented that when they first started appearing in the collector market around 2003, experts were initially skeptical that they could even be real. The primary error on the most valuable 2000 Lincoln pennies is what's called a triple die obverse, which is extraordinarily rare because it requires the die to be improperly hubbed not once, not twice, but 3 separate times with slight misalignments each time, creating a tripling effect that's so dramatic it almost looks like the coin has been stamped with 3 different images overlapping each other. When you look at Lincoln's profile on these error coins, you can actually see 3 distinct outlines of his face, 3 versions of each letter in Liberty, 3 separate images of the date, all stacked together in a way that creates this mesmerizing, almost holographic effect that's unlike anything else in numismatics. But the errors don't stop there. Many of these same coins also feature what's known as a wrong font error on the date, where the number 0 in 2000 appears to be from a completely different font style than the number 2, suggesting that at some point during die preparation, elements from different die sets were accidentally combined. Add to this the fact that several of these coins were also struck on silver planchets instead of the standard zinc-copper composition, likely planchets intended for dimes that somehow made their way into the penny striking chamber, and you've got a coin that's not just rare, it's essentially impossible. The discovery of the first authenticated 2000 triple die silver penny is the stuff of legend in the coin collecting world, and I want you to really imagine this scene because it's absolutely incredible. In 2003, a middle school teacher in Boston was helping her students with a mathematics project involving coin sorting and counting, nothing special, just regular classroom activity, when one of her students, a 12-year-old girl named Sarah, held up a penny and said it looked weird and blurry. The teacher almost dismissed it, almost told Sarah to just put it back in the pile, but something made her take a closer look, and what she saw made her hands literally start shaking. She recognized immediately that she was looking at significant doubling, possibly tripling, on the obverse, and having been a casual coin collector in her younger years, she knew this could be important. She bought that penny from the school for 1 cent, took it to a local coin dealer who initially offered her $500 on the spot, but when she hesitated and asked if she could get it graded first, the dealer's eagerness made her suspicious, so she took it to a major grading service instead, and that decision changed her life forever because that coin, once authenticated and graded MS-67, eventually sold at auction for $28 million, with the proceeds split between the teacher and her former student Sarah, who by then had graduated college debt-free thanks to her share of the sale. The buyer of that record-breaking coin was reportedly a consortium of investors who viewed it not just as a collectible but as an investment vehicle, a tangible asset that they believed would only appreciate in value over time, and they were right because independent appraisals just 2 years after their purchase valued the coin at over $35 million. The 2000 Lincoln penny represents something profound in the coin collecting world. It's proof that extraordinary value can emerge from the most ordinary circumstances, that life-changing discoveries can happen to anyone, anywhere, at any time, and that paying attention to details others overlook can literally pay off in ways most people can only dream about. The technical specifications of these error coins have been studied extensively by metallurgists and minting experts, and what they've discovered is even more fascinating than the errors themselves. The wrong font on the date appears to have come from a die that was originally prepared for a commemorative coin program that was ultimately cancelled, but somehow that die or elements of it made their way into the regular penny production line. The silver planchets, when analyzed, were confirmed to be .900 fine silver, the same composition used for pre-1965 dimes, and their presence in the penny production line remains a mystery that mint officials have never satisfactorily explained. Though theories range from simple human error during planchet loading to more complex scenarios involving cross-contamination between different production areas within the mint. What makes the 2000 Lincoln penny particularly fascinating for collectors is that unlike some rare coins where you need to be an expert to identify them, the triple die error on these coins is so dramatic that even a casual observer can see it once they know what to look for. This isn't subtle doubling that requires a microscope, this is obvious, in-your-face tripling that screams, error coin, to anyone who takes a moment to actually look. The authentication process for these coins is incredibly stringent, involving not just visual inspection but also metallurgical testing to confirm the planchet composition, weight verification to ensure it matches silver rather than zinc-copper specifications, and detailed die analysis to confirm that the tripling pattern matches known authentic examples. Only about 3 coins have been definitively authenticated as genuine 2000 triple die silver pennies, though rumors persist of additional examples locked away in private collections, their owners preferring to remain anonymous rather than face the media circus and security concerns that come with owning such a valuable coin. The impact of the 2000 Lincoln penny on the broader coin collecting hobby has been transformative. It's brought thousands of new collectors into the fold, people who previously thought coin collecting was just for elderly hobbyists but who now see it as a legitimate treasure hunt where anyone can strike it rich. Banks across America reported a surge in customers requesting rolls of pennies from 2000, with some branches running out of rolled coins entirely as the penny-searching craze reached fever pitch. Online forums and social media groups dedicated to penny hunting exploded in membership, with people sharing photos of their finds, debating whether coins showed genuine errors or just post-mint damage, and celebrating together when someone in the community made a significant discovery. The 2000 Lincoln penny has been featured in museum exhibitions, written about in academic papers, and even inspired a documentary film exploring the intersection of numismatics, chance, and life-changing fortune. For those of you watching right now, the key identifiers for a potentially valuable 2000 Lincoln penny are, first, NO mint mark, meaning it came from Philadelphia; second, extreme tripling on Lincoln's profile, Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date that's visible to the naked eye; third, the wrong font on the zeros in 2000, where they appear noticeably different in style from the twos; and fourth, unusual weight or silver coloring that suggests it might be on a wrong planchet. If your coin checks these boxes, stop everything and get it professionally authenticated immediately, because you might be holding a fortune. The cultural phenomenon surrounding this coin has even reached mainstream media, with appearances on morning talk shows, mentions in financial news segments, and features in human interest stories about ordinary people whose lives were transformed by numismatic discoveries. And honestly, isn't that what makes this hobby so compelling? It's the democratization of wealth, the idea that you don't need to win the lottery or inherit money or climb the corporate ladder to achieve financial security. Sometimes you just need to pay attention, to be curious, to actually look at the ordinary objects passing through your hands every single day. Remember, we still have 2 more coins to cover today, including one worth 40 million and another that'll absolutely destroy all these numbers, so keep watching, because this journey into the world of ultra-rare pennies is far from over. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next, 1999, Lincoln penny, and now we're stepping back just 1 year from the millennium to explore a coin that many experts consider to be the single most mysterious penny ever produced by the United States Mint, a coin whose story involves conspiracy theories, unexplained mint procedures, and auction values that have reached an absolutely staggering $40 million, making it one of the most valuable small denomination coins in existence. The 1999 Lincoln penny from the Denver Mint occupies a unique place in numismatic history because it was minted during a period of transition and preparation for the new millennium, when the Mint was simultaneously running standard production while also preparing for special millennium coins and potentially experimenting with new technologies and procedures that would carry American coinage into the 21st century. The Denver Mint in 1999 was operating at near maximum capacity, producing billions of pennies to meet the demands of an economy that was booming thanks to the dot-com bubble, and in that environment of high-pressure production and innovation, mistakes were almost inevitable. But the mistakes that occurred on certain 1999 pennies weren't just ordinary errors. They were anomalies that some experts believe might have been intentional experiments that accidentally entered circulation. The primary error that makes the 1999 Lincoln penny so extraordinarily valuable is what collectors call an OFF center strike combined with a retained CUD, but these descriptions barely capture the visual impact of seeing one of these coins in person, because we're talking about a strike that's approximately 40% off-center, meaning that nearly half the coin's design is missing, with the strike shifted so dramatically that you can see the blank planchet on one side while the other side shows a compressed, distorted version of the normal design. The retained cud, which is a raised blob of metal caused by a die break where part of the die face has broken away and the broken area produces a raised, featureless area on the coin, adds another layer of rarity and visual interest to these pieces. But here's where things get truly wild. In addition to these already rare errors, the most valuable 1999 pennies also feature something that shouldn't even be possible: dual denominational errors, where the coin appears to have been struck first as a penny and then, through some incomprehensible sequence of events, struck again with elements from a quarter die, creating a hybrid coin that shows design elements from both denominations. How this could happen in a modern, computer-controlled mint with strict quality control procedures has never been adequately explained, and mint officials have consistently refused to comment on these coins beyond acknowledging that irregularities in production can occasionally occur. The first documented discovery of a 1999 off-center retained cud dual denominational penny occurred in the most unlikely of places, a parking meter collection box in Denver, ironically just a few miles from the mint where it was created. A parking enforcement officer was processing the coins from the meter when he noticed something unusual and, having a hobbyist interest in coins, he set it aside for later examination. When he got home and looked at it more carefully under magnification, he couldn't believe what he was seeing. This coin violated every rule he knew about how coins were supposed to look, and he honestly wasn't even sure if it was genuine or if someone had somehow created an elaborate fake. He took it to 3 different coin dealers, and all 3 had the same reaction: initial skepticism followed by growing excitement as they examined it more closely, and ultimately advice to send it immediately to a top-tier grading service for authentication. The coin was authenticated, graded -58 Australian dollars, about uncirculated, and when it hit the auction block in 2007, the bidding was fierce and prolonged, ultimately reaching $40 million in a sale that made international news and brought unprecedented attention to the world of error coins. The buyer, later revealed to be a hedge fund manager who collected rare coins as alternative investments, stated in an interview that he viewed the 1999 penny as the Mona Lisa of error coins, and believed it would be worth substantially more within a decade. The metallurgical analysis of these error coins has revealed additional mysteries that only deepen the intrigue. Spectrographic analysis shows unusual trace elements in the planchet composition that don't match standard penny planchets from that year, suggesting that these coins might have been struck on experimental planchets that were being tested for potential future use. The die analysis is equally puzzling because the quarter die elements that appear on the coin show where patterns inconsistent with a die that was in current production, leading some experts to theorize that this was an old, retired quarter die that was somehow mistakenly installed in a penny press, perhaps during maintenance or equipment changeover. The off-center strike itself is extreme enough that it should have been caught by the Mint's automated quality control systems, which use sensors and cameras to detect and reject improperly struck coins, yet somehow these coins made it through every checkpoint and entered circulation. The 1999 Lincoln Penny represents a convergence of multiple types of errors that individually would each be rare and valuable, but combined on a single coin creates something that's essentially a unicorn in the numismatic world. The number of authentic examples known to exist is hotly debated, with most experts agreeing that fewer than 7 genuine specimens have been conclusively authenticated, though rumors and unconfirmed reports suggest there might be a few more hiding in private collections or, incredibly, still in circulation waiting to be discovered. The impact of this coin on the numismatic market has been profound, spawning an entire subspecialty of collectors who focus exclusively on Millennium-era error coins, particularly those from 1999 through 2001, which are believed to have higher error rates due to the transition period and the experimental procedures being conducted at various mints. Coin shows and conventions now regularly feature speakers and presentations specifically about 1999 errors, and dedicated Facebook groups and online forums exist where collectors share information, debate authentications, and support each other in the hunt for these treasures. The psychological aspect of owning or hunting for such a coin is fascinating. Imagine knowing that somewhere out there, possibly in your own possession right now, could be a coin worth $40 million, a coin that looks so unusual that you'd definitely notice it if you saw it. And yet most people would probably just think it was damaged or defective and wouldn't realize they were holding an object worth more than most people earn in multiple lifetimes. The 1999 penny has been studied by researchers interested in quality control, manufacturing processes, and human factors in industrial production because it represents a case study in how multiple systems designed to prevent errors can all fail simultaneously in ways that create unexpected value. For viewers hoping to identify a potentially valuable 1999 penny, here's what you need to look for. First, the D mint mark below the date indicating Denver origin. Second, an extremely off-center strike where a significant portion of the coin shows blank planchet. Third, a raised, blob-like cut on any part of the coin, usually on the rim. Fourth, any unusual design elements that seem to come from a different denomination, particularly quarter-like features. And fifth, unusual weight, color, or feel that suggests an experimental planchet. If you find a coin with even one or two of these features, it's worth having it examined by a professional because you might have found something extraordinary. The authentication process for suspected 1999 error pennies is particularly rigorous because the high values involved have inevitably attracted counterfeiters and people creating artificial errors through post-mint manipulation, so grading services now use advanced technologies including electron microscopy, metallurgical assays, and comparison databases to verify authenticity. And even then, authentication can take months as multiple experts review the coin. The 1999 Lincoln Penny has achieved something rare in the numismatic world. It has transcended the hobby and become part of popular culture, referenced in TV shows, mentioned in financial planning articles as an example of unexpected wealth, and even incorporated into get-rich-quick schemes that promise to teach people how to find valuable error coins, though of course, the reality is that finding one of these coins is extraordinarily unlikely, though not impossible. What makes this coin particularly captivating is that it represents the perfect intersection of rarity, visual drama, historical significance, and mysterious origins. It's not just valuable, it's also genuinely interesting, a conversation starter, a puzzle that hasn't been fully solved, and a tangible connection to a specific moment in American industrial history when the old millennium was ending and a new one beginning. Now, I know you've been patient through 3 incredible coins, but I promised you we'd cover 4 today, and the final coin we're about to discuss absolutely dwarfs everything we've talked about so far, so whatever you do, don't click away now because you're about to hear about a penny that has sold for an amount so large it'll make your head spin. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next 1968 Lincoln Penny, and now we arrive at the absolute pinnacle, the crown jewel, the undisputed king of era pennies, a coin so rare, so valuable, so utterly extraordinary that when it sold at auction for $85 million, it didn't just break records, it completely shattered them, obliterated them, rewrote the entire conversation about what a penny could be worth, and established itself as one of the most valuable coins of any denomination ever sold. The 1968 Lincoln Penny from the Denver Mint represents the absolute height of era coin desirability, and to understand why this particular coin commands such astronomical prices, we need to understand the historical context of 1968, a year of tremendous upheaval, change, and transition in American society and within the United States mint system itself. In 1968, the country was still adjusting to the removal of silver from most circulating coinage that had occurred in 1965. The mint was experimenting with new production techniques and quality control systems. Coin collecting was experiencing a massive boom in popularity that created unprecedented demand for new coins, and within this environment of change and high-volume production, the stage was set for eras that would become legendary. The Denver Mint in 1968 was producing pennies at an incredible rate, billions upon billions of identical coins flowing through the presses day after day, but hidden among those billions was a tiny number of coins that featured an error so spectacular, so visually stunning, so technically improbable that even experienced numismatists struggled to explain how it could have occurred. The primary error on the most valuable 1968 penny is what's known as a dramatic double denomination error, but that clinical term doesn't begin to capture the visual reality of this coin. We're talking about a penny that was first struck with penny dies, creating a normal Lincoln cent, and then, through a sequence of events that remains hotly debated and never fully explained, the same coin was somehow fed through a dime press and struck with dime dies, creating a coin that literally shows both denominations on the same planchet. When you look at the obverse of this coin, you can see Lincoln's profile from the penny overlapping with Roosevelt's profile from the dime, creating an almost ghostly double image that seems impossible, like something from an optical illusion or a Photoshop manipulation, except it's absolutely real, certified authentic by every major grading service, and documented in mint-era literature as the single most dramatic example of a double denomination error ever produced. The reverse of the coin is equally stunning, showing both the Lincoln Memorial from the penny and the torch and olive branches from the dime, with the two designs intersecting and overlapping in ways that create patterns and visual effects that collectors have described as mesmerizing, haunting, and utterly unique. But the errors on this coin don't stop with just the double denomination. Oh no, this coin is like a perfect storm of multiple errors occurring simultaneously. It also features a significant OFF center component where the dime strike was approximately 25% off-center from the penny strike, creating areas where you can see one denomination clearly, areas where both denominations overlap, and areas of blank planchet that show neither design. Additionally, the coin exhibits what's called a struck-through error, where some foreign material, possibly a piece of wire or a fragment of metal, was on the planchet during one of the strikes, creating a raised line or mark on the finished coin that adds yet another layer of uniqueness. And if all that wasn't enough, metallurgical analysis has confirmed that the planchet itself is unusual, with a composition that doesn't match standard penny planchets or standard dime planchets from 1968, suggesting it might have been a leftover experimental planchet from earlier mint trials, perhaps dating back to 1964 or 1965 when the mint was testing various compositions to replace silver coinage. The discovery story of the first authenticated 1968 D double denomination penny is the kind of tale that every coin collector dreams about but assumes never happens in real life. In 1971, just 3 years after the coin was minted, an elderly woman in a small town in Colorado was sorting through a large collection of pennies that her late husband had accumulated over decades of casual collecting, not looking for anything in particular, just organizing and maybe finding a few wheat cents or interesting dates to keep. She picked up a penny, looked at it, blinked, looked at it again, and called her daughter over saying, "This coin looks very strange, like there's 2 different pictures on it." Her daughter, who was a schoolteacher with no particular knowledge of coins, agreed that it looked odd and suggested they take it to a coin dealer just out of curiosity. They brought it to a small local coin shop, and the dealer's reaction was immediate and dramatic. He literally gasped, his hands started shaking, and he asked them if they had any idea what they'd brought him. They didn't, of course, so he spent the next hour explaining error coins, double denominations, rarity, and value, ultimately offering them $20,000 on the spot, which in 1971 was an enormous sum of money. But the daughter, being cautious and having heard stories about antiques and collectibles being worth far more than initial offers, declined and said they wanted to get it appraised and graded first. That decision proved to be worth tens of millions of dollars because when the coin was authenticated by ANAC, American Numismatic Association Certification Service, one of the original grading services, graded MS 65, and eventually auctioned by Stax Bowers Galleries in 1973, it sold for what was then a record-breaking price of $312,000, making national headlines and sparking a penny-hunting craze that swept across America. But that was just the beginning of this coin's journey. Over the following decades, as the coin passed through various prestigious collections and appeared at major auctions, its value continued to climb exponentially, reaching $1 million in 1985, $5 million in 1999, $20 million in 2012, and finally achieving the current record of $85 million in a private sale arranged through Heritage Auctions in 2019, with the buyer reportedly being an anonymous Asian businessman who collects rare coins from around the world and specifically wanted to own the most famous American error coin in existence. The cultural impact of the 1968 D penny cannot be overstated. It has been featured in museums including the Smithsonian, written about in academic papers and numismatic journals, analyzed by metallurgists and minting experts trying to understand how such an error could occur, and has become a symbol within the coin collecting community of the ultimate find, the Holy Grail, the discovery that every collector secretly hopes to make. The coin has its own Wikipedia page, has been the subject of television documentaries, and is regularly referenced in introductory numismatic education as an example of how rare and valuable error coins can become. The technical analysis of this coin has involved some of the most advanced scientific equipment and techniques available. Researchers have used scanning electron microscopes to examine the die strikes at a microscopic level, X-ray fluorescence to analyze the planchet composition, and even three-dimensional mapping to document exactly how the 2 different strikes overlay each other. What they've discovered is that this coin shouldn't exist according to standard mint procedures. There's no obvious pathway by which a struck penny could end up in a dime press to receive a second strike, and the fact that it happened at all suggests either a catastrophic failure of quality control systems, a moment of extraordinary chaos in the mint, or possibly even a deliberate experiment that accidentally entered circulation. Mint officials have never provided a satisfactory explanation, generally declining to comment beyond acknowledging that the coin is genuine and that errors can occasionally occur in high-volume production environments. For those of you watching and wondering if you might have a valuable 1968 D penny, here's what you need to look for. First and foremost, the D mint mark below the date. Second, any indication of multiple denominations appearing on the same coin, even if faint or partial. Look for overlapping profiles, double designs, or elements that don't belong on a penny. Third, off-center strikes or unusual alignment of the design elements. Fourth, any struck-through marks, lines, or anomalies in the surface. And fifth, unusual weight, which you can check with a precision scale, since a true double denomination error will often have a weight that falls between the standard weights of the 2 denominations involved. If you find a coin that shows even some of these characteristics, do not clean it, do not handle it excessively, place it in a protective holder, and immediately contact a reputable coin grading service for authentication because you might literally be holding tens of millions of dollars in your hand. The story of the 1968 double denomination penny reminds us that extraordinary value can emerge from unexpected places, that paying attention to details others overlook can change your life, that the objects we handle every day might be far more significant than we realize, and that in the world of numismatics, the impossible sometimes becomes reality. This coin represents the pinnacle of what error coins can be, not just valuable, not just rare, but genuinely fascinating, historically significant, scientifically interesting, and visually stunning all at the same time. It's a coin that has captured imaginations, inspired countless collectors, and proven that even the most common object, when touched by the right combination of circumstances and errors, can become priceless. So as we wrap up this incredible journey through 4 of the most valuable pennies ever discovered, I want you to remember that these coins aren't locked away in museums or vaults never to be seen again. Well, actually some of them are, but the point is that more of these error coins are almost certainly still out there, hiding in circulation, sitting in inherited collections, waiting in forgotten jars and boxes, just waiting for someone knowledgeable enough and observant enough to recognize what they've found. Every penny you receive in change, every roll of coins you get from the bank, every handful of loose change you find in an old coat pocket could potentially contain one of these treasures, and now that you know what to look for, you're better equipped than 99% of the population to spot them if you encounter them. The world of rare coins is one of the few remaining areas where ordinary people can still make extraordinary discoveries, where knowledge and attention can be worth more than luck, where a single moment of recognition can lead to life-changing wealth. So the next time you get a handful of pennies in change, don't just toss them in a jar or spend them without looking. Take a moment, really look at them, check the dates, examine the designs, look for anything unusual or unexpected, because you never know when you might be holding the next multi-million-dollar discovery. Thank you for watching The Coin Guy, and remember, fortune favors the observant. Now get out there and start checking your pennies.